Very good afternoon, everyone. Jeremy here, Quant Strategic Singapore, and this is part three of my STI update, where I'm talking about the banking sector right now. I've discussed Singapore Airlines as well as Capital Land and City Developments as the biggest property component stocks in the STI, and now I'm talking about DBS Bank. After this, I'll be talking about OCBC, then UOB. So let's start it off with DBS Bank, and DBS Bank has been on a uptrend since 1988, and the chart looks much better than a lot of component stocks on the STI, and it has managed to make higher highs every 10 years, and it's a pretty good stock to actually keep on a long-term basis. So just to take note that you only buy stocks that are in a uptrend, uh, whereby you will be able to have the win behind your sale as you hold your money and your portfolio in the months and years to come. What has happened recently for this year's pandemic is that the banks were hit as well. And there was a short signal issued on the 22nd of March 2020 at about $2, $21.90. All right. And the target was actually $13.60. We managed to hit about 1650 before DBS bounce, which is a very good sign of the banking sector's resilience in Singapore. The last low was at about $13 and it held the last low and bounced off. And currently, we are in the middle of a nice Santa Claus rally after the vaccine as well as the elections and the year end coming. We have a lot of investor interest, and over the past month, we managed to put on at least $5 en route to an ultimate target of $26.75, which is the pivot for the monthly on the DBS Bank stock. Why this I call it this pivot at 26.75 is because as at the same time where a short signal is issued by the break of a super trend line to the downside, the pivot here at 26.75 will give a long signal to the upside. So immediately, if 26.75 breaks, you will be able to target $31 pretty clearly without any objections, without any obstacles along its path. So just to sum up on a monthly basis, we were on a downtrend starting on the 23rd of March at the pandemic lows. We have managed to bounce off and recover. And the target right now is $26.75. So zooming into the medium term charts, you can see pretty much of the same where the rally actually started. If you had used the medium charts for an entry, you would have gone long at $22.49 on the 2nd of November, very early into November, and your target initially would be at 26.75 at the pivot. All right. And for 3 weeks, you will have very nice bullish action, currently closing at 25.68. All right. So in the midterm basis, we have a uptrend for DBS Bank. Now, for the most commonly used charts that most investors use is the daily chart. And as you can see, the official long signal for DBS Bank came in on the 3rd of November 2020. The long signal was issued at $21.36. All right. So if you had gone in on the 3rd of November 2020, this was way before the vaccine was released, as well as the presidential elections, showing how powerful technical indicators are. So after a break, an entry at about 31.36, and if you had put your stop loss along the super trend line, you would have a lovely profit of almost $5 at a peak of $26. And currently we have three support levels: 25, 24, and $23. Most significant of which is $24.41. All right. So take note of this pivot level of 24.41, and we have a very nice bullish action on the daily charts. Okay, so coming down to the charts that I use the 4 hourly charts for swing and day trading as well. And you can see that the long signal was issued on the 3rd of November, but you could have taken the entry a little bit earlier at a price of $20.78 with a stop loss at about 2050. Uh, that will do you very nicely, ride the trend up. And you can see that the super trend line, okay, has held all the way to 25.17, this uptrend that DPS had for almost $5. All right. So, in the shorter term next week, please pay attention to 25.17. If you had gone long uh, over the past 3 weeks for DBS Bank, please have your stop loss raised to about $25.17, because once this break, we might see some correction all the way down to almost $22.50, and then we'll assess to see whether the price bounces again and continues its uptrend to its ultimate target of $27, or it will go on the downtrend and test lower levels and range before a uptrend bounce. So, as a recap for DBS Bank, on a very long term basis, on a monthly chart, we are still on a downtrend. However, price action at the moment suggests that we might test this pivot 26.75 very shortly. And if we do break 26.75, then we'll have price action trading above the cloud for a very bullish long term outlook. On the weekly charts, we're already seeing bullish action. You can see the price action maintaining above this cloud area, above 2184. And you can see on the shorter term charts, you have long signals issued on the 3rd of November doing very well, making $5. But what is very important that please take note of this pivot point right here, 2517. If this breaks, we may test 2313, okay, 2313, and then to the base of the cloud. And from there, we will have to adjust our trading technique and strategy to see where DBS is leading us to the end of 2020. All right, as promised, I'm also going to talk about OCBC Bank. But if you look at DBS, OCBC, and later on for UOB bank stocks, you can see that the price action and the charts look pretty similar. So on a monthly basis, downtrend and the apparent wanting to break this pivot point at $10.98 to the upside, very similar to DBS Bank. Pivot at 1098. On the medium trend, we have very nice bullish action breaking above the cloud. And on a daily basis, the long signal was issued on the 5th of November as well as the 3rd of November at $8.58. So you can see that the long signals for DBS and OCBC occurred on the same day on the 4 hourly chart, right? On the 4 hourly chart. If you had taken it on the daily chart, then you may get the signal 2 days later at 876 at a higher price, all right? But the target remains the same at $10.98. But what is most interesting is that for OCBC Bank, all right, it is now having a small range and correction, having broke the super trend line just on the 25th of November midweek. And our initial target is about $9.39. Let's see if the price action is managed to hold its uptrend and retest this pivot of $10.29 to break out to its upside to meet its eventual pivot targets on the monthly. So it may either uh, go to $10.29 and then break back down, or it may continue its uptrend based on this pivot. That's why I call it a pivot at 10.29. It changes your modality from bullish to bearish. So, as a recap for OCBC Bank, very similar to DBS, both you could have gone long on the 3rd of November and you could have enjoyed the monthly profits if you had taken it much earlier. And currently, there's a little bit of a short-term weakness on the 4 hourly charts on OCBC Bank. We'll watch that very carefully and watch out for this pivot level of $10.29 to see where price is going to take us as we close off the year 2020. Finally, as promised, we're talking about the third bank in the STI component stock, the UOB Bank, and look at the charts again. So the monthly charts, the weekly charts, the day, and the 4 hourly, it's almost the same, right? So the chart work is very similar, although the three banks are totally different in nature and their exposure, so on and so forth. You can see that on a monthly basis for UOB, all right, uh, it was on a downtrend, and right now price is trying to hit a pivot of $25.69. All right, so that's our long-term target. And on a weekly basis, you can see that price action trying to get very bullish above the cloud area. All right, trying to hit the pivot of $25.69, and then you can see that the long signal on the daily charts was issued on the 5th of November, and for the short term charts, it was issued on the 2nd of November, just like OCBC and DBS Bank at $19.30. All right. What is most significant as well, together with OCBC, you can see some short term weakness on the 4 hourly chart. Okay. And you can see that there was a short signal, same like OCBC Bank, on the 25th of November 2020, targeting $21.46. All right. And we want to see the pivot of $23.59, how price is going to react to this. Either it's going to go to $23.59 and then retreat back into the clouds, testing the $21 area, or break through 23.59 and have another bullish signal to the upside to hit our uptrend targets. All right. So for UOB Bank, as a small recap, it's very, very similar to DBS and OCBC in terms of its long term, medium term, as well as short term action. Especially for UOB and OCBC, you see some short term weakness for the 4 hourly chart, where there was a short signal issued. On the 25th of November, and you got to watch for the pivot points to see whether price action will continue go up to hit its pivot point at 25.69 or push down to test the downside targets of 21.46 before resuming its uptrend. All right. So for the banks at the moment, what I can say is that for those of you who would like to buy the banks, okay, at the moment, my technical picture is that the buy signal was actually issued almost 3 weeks ago. So to go in at the moment without this particular pivot point, which is at 25.69. All right, you can see this pivot point here. Before this pivot point is broken to the upside, okay, it is still a little bit premature, as well as you may have missed the buying opportunity way early on the 3rd of November 2020. So you may want to have maybe price action correct downwards and watch this medium term uptrend develop, as well as this long term uptrend develop before you have another opportunity to buy on a fresh signal on the 4 hourly chart. All right. So thanks very much, guys, for watching. And that's the summary for the Singapore banks at the moment. Hope it's useful to you guys. And please subscribe to this channel and click on the bell sign for notifications for future videos. Have a great weekend.